Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is Daily Drop number 426. Well, we all know that the fund for the survivors has been put on pause. And yesterday, when we talked about the imminent sale of the mansion, I was saying then that I would think that if the mansion does get sold like they say it's going to be, that the survivors fund would be able to open back up and continue paying out payments for the restitution that the fund has decided that these girls are deserved. So it would make sense, right, that would be the case. Well, today we have an article from CNBC, and CNBC is reporting the same thing, that the $50 million sale of the mansion would get the frozen fund going again. So yesterday when we were talking about this, I figured that would be the case, right? Certainly didn't have any inside information. Certainly didn't have anyone giving me any of the goods. It just made sense. So we got that confirmation tonight from this article in CNBC. What my question still is are we going to see the Florida mansion sell as well? Now, we know that's been in the news for a lot longer than the New York townhouse as far as being sold goes. And I would think that the process is a lot further along down there in Florida. So I'm working on the suspicion, just speculation by the way, my hypothesis is that both are going to be sold very close to one another and that the fund will get a injection. Now, if those funds are going to be paid out in a correct manner to the girls or anything like that, I don't have any idea, right? We don't know. Honestly, nobody knows unless you're one of the people involved in receiving one of the payments, one of the survivors, or one of the lawyers, then nobody else really knows what's going on as far as how much anyone's getting paid, right? There's a lot of agreements that have to be signed and stuff like that. So all I could say is I hope that there is money in that fund so that these payments can start to resume. And this is a good way to get there, right? This is a good path to take, meaning get these properties sold off. What is taking so long? And I know they'll say COVID and all right, that's fine, whatever. But those days look to be quickly being behind us. So it would be a good idea for the estate to hurry up and liquidate the rest of the properties, the rest of the holdings, and give the fund the injection that it needs. The biggest problem there, in my opinion, is Indike and Khan. I'm so cynical about all of this, and especially about the people who were around Epstein, that I wouldn't be shocked to find out that they're slowing it down on purpose, just to make it even harder on the survivors, hoping people will bounce, hoping people will tap out. And that's been their MO from the very beginning, so why would it be any different now? So I hope that the courts in the Virgin Islands are really turning the wheels and looking for a way to remove these guys as the executors, because they have no business being in charge of anything that has to do with anyone who was allegedly abused by Jeffrey Epstein. All right, so the article for tonight from CNBC, the headline: Frozen fund for Jeffrey Epstein survivors needs $50 million sale of sex criminal, pedophiles, New York mansion to go through, lawyer says. This article was authored by Dan Mangan and Kevin Bruniger. I would think that it going through would definitely be a good kickstart for the fund, and the fact that we have been waiting this long for these properties to be sold is a bit of a head scratcher to me, honestly. Especially if you knew you were going to take a haircut on it. Why list it even at the number that it was listed when you knew that there was no market for that? Should have put it on the market for the 55 or whatever right from the jump. Let it get sold. Now, I guess they could say they wanted some room to negotiate, and that's fine, and I understand that you can't create buyers out of nowhere, right? But I have a hard time believing that the executors and the estate went the extra mile to try and make this facilitated in a quick manner. A reported deal to sell sex criminal, pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein's notorious New York City mansion for about $50 million could unfreeze a compensation fund set up for the late money manager's survivors. Yeah, and again, this is what we talked about yesterday. I figured the writing was on the wall. That's the thing with this story, right? One thing usually leads to the other, and once one bit of news starts to break, you can almost guarantee that there's going to be some connecting stories and some aftershocks, right? And that's what I figured here with the mansion close to sale or maybe even being sold. We don't know. It's always a little bit murky, right? I figured that the next thing we would hear was that the fund was going to start dispersing payments again. And it certainly looks like that's the path that we're on. And I'm hopeful that that happens quickly. And this time around, it's managed better and that they don't run out of funds. Let's make sure that even though this is going to replenish the kitty here, right? We're going to get some couple more dollars in the piggy bank. Let's make sure that all of these properties are being sold and stuff, the ones that are remaining in the meantime, so that this problem doesn't arise again, so that there's, an ample amount of money to go around, so everybody who has been wronged by this man can get their restitution and can move on with their lives. The fund last month suspended making settlement offers to claimants because of liquidity problems with his estate. The Wall Street Journal's report of the sales contract for the $28,000 square foot Upper East Side townhouse to an unidentified buyer comes 3 weeks before the deadline for claims to be filed with Epstein Survivors Compensation Program. So it's, nick of the time, really, right? It's about time that this fund is replenished. It's about time that these payments resume. There should have never been any sort of abrupt stop like there was. There should have been no pause. There should have been enough money in that fund from the very beginning. Like I said, all of this idiot stuff should have been sold right away. And if that means taking a haircut, then so be it. Because even taking a haircut, these properties are going to provide enough fundage that at the very least, the survivors who have come forward are going to get paid out. Now, I don't know how much they're going to receive, but whatever's negotiated, at least there's going to be some money there to draw from. Brad Edwards, a lawyer who represents a number of Epstein survivors, said he had been unaware of the sale before being contacted by CNBC. Yeah, hey, look, I get it. Has other things going on, I'm sure. But it would be a very, very, very good thing, a positive thing, if this was facilitated in a quick manner. I hope all parties involved, people involved in escrow and closing and all of that stuff are going to move this forward. I mean, obviously they have their own motivations. I'm sure there's a bunch of commission to be made here. So that should be enough motivation to get people going. And I'm not talking about, a few thousand. We're talking about big time money here on a commission of a $60 million sale. Everybody's wetting their beak. No doubt about that. $50 million sale, whatever. So I would hope that they're going to try and facilitate it quickly and get this show on the road. But I am pleased to hear that the liquidity issues of the estate will soon be cleared up in order to make proper compensation for his many survivors, Edwards said. It's a good thing. I don't know how anyone can think differently. Again, we can disagree with how the money has been dispersed thus far. We can disagree with the people who are facilitating how that money is being spread out and distributed. But right now, I think that the biggest black eye and the biggest shame is that this money ran out in the first place. How don't you have enough funds in this fund to make sure that the payments are able to go out to those who deserve them? All of these properties should have been liquidated a long time ago. All of it. All the artwork, everything. The sale is monumental as it likely marks the end to the house of horrors that Epstein ran out of that mansion, Edwards said. Hell yeah, agreed. And just like I said with Florida, if I was the buyer, obviously there's going to be some remodeling done. So I would put the offer out there to anyone who was abused by Jeffrey Epstein. If they would like to come, grab a sledgehammer, put on a hard hat, and blast through a couple of walls with me. That would be my offer. Because while you can't erase what occurred there, it might be damn fun destroying the very house where you were abused. So I think that would be awesome if the owner would do something like that. But, who knows? I think that would be a good idea, though. Head on over, grab yourself a nice sledgehammer, put on that hard hat, maybe a pair of gloves, and do some destruction, some demolition work. The sale to the unidentified buyer, who would be paying significantly less than the original $88 million asking price, has yet to close. So again, it's still pending, but I would hope that this whole process moves at a quick pace, right? I would think that everybody involved is trying to get paid. And we know how commissions work in the real estate world. Everybody's going to get a little something, something. If you were involved in the closing, I'm sure it's probably a cash buyer, would be my guess. So probably no loans or anything like that. But the agent, the company, everyone. So I think it behooves everybody involved, and of course everybody not involved, that this moves forward at a quick pace. And I think we'll see that, especially here in New York. Manhattan's a different beast, right? When people come in to get these sales and to buy these kind of townhouses or homes, you're usually dealing with high-profile wheelers and dealers who are used to things happening very quickly. So I'm guessing, and obviously I have no inside info here, folks, I'm guessing that we'll see this move quickly, quicker than Florida. But again, Florida has been in motion for quite some time, so I would not be shocked to see them end up closing right at the right time, at the same time, roughly. The 7th-floor, 40-room mansion currently is advertised as an active listing on the website of the Maudlin Group. Adam Maudlin, who is the property's listing agent, did not respond to requests for comment from CNBC. Also yet to close is the sale of Epstein's mansion in Palm Beach, Florida, which the Journal has reported developer Todd Michael Glazer is in contract to buy. The Palm Beach mansions originally had a nearly $22 million asking price. So there they mentioned that as well. And I think it's just obvious at this point that both of these sales will end up being relatively at the same time. And I think that'll be a serious boost and an injection into the fund. Now, again, I'd be remiss not to mention, what about Zorro Ranch? When is that place going to be sold? Nobody's showing up there to buy that place. Before that happens, obviously, it'd be nice if, a couple of law enforcement agents would show up out there. The FBI took some time maybe out of their busy schedules to go out there and maybe take a look at the property. If yours truly could hop on a plane and fly out to New Mexico, surely the FBI is capable of it, no? Proceeds from both properties could be used for the compensation program if authorized by the Attorney General of the U.S. Virgin Islands, who holds liens on Epstein's estate. And I'm pretty sure that Denise George would okay that. But there might be some restrictions on it, right? She might want to have more control of it, or have the court have more control of it, because it's very obvious that Denise George does not have the belly for Indike or Khan. She really does not like them, and she truly thinks they were a part of Jeffrey Epstein's criminal enterprise, or she would not be pursuing them civilly the way she is. Now, hopefully that turns into a criminal pursuit as well, and folks, it might already be. We do not know what's going on behind the scenes with sealed indictments. The fund launched last June has received more than 150 claims and had paid out more than $50 million before the settlement offers were suspended. So we know that it's paid out money already, right? And there's been a lot of people who have made claims. So I'm sure that there are still a lot of people who need to see this money, who have not seen even $1 yet. And that's a damn shame. Federal prosecutors in July 2019 charged Epstein, who was 66, with child sex trafficking crimes related to dozens of underage girls whom he was accused of sexually abusing between 2002 and 2005 at his properties in Manhattan and Palm Beach. It's sad, too, that those are the only two properties that were talked about. We all know that it happened everywhere. Even if the NPA is overturned, I still don't think that the investigation that the federal government was engaged in was wide or vast enough. The net should have went everywhere. Every single place Epstein ever went, they should have been investigating. Epstein, who had pleaded not guilty in that federal case, killed himself while in a Manhattan federal jail a month later, allegedly. 11 years before his death, the former friend of ex-presidents Donald Trump and Bill Clinton had pleaded guilty in Florida to a state charge of felony solicitation of prostitution, a case that involved an underage girl. Epstein served 13 months in jail for that case. Even if that was such a thing, even if there was such a thing as an underage prostitute, for somebody like Leon Black, for instance, to say, oh, well, he made a mistake, he's being rehabilitated, is so ludicrous that it's not even describable how ludicrous it is. This man should have been ostracized by everybody, especially after his arrest, but he was not. He was accepted with open arms and, hell, even invited to good old turkey dinner. The British socialite, co-conspirator, fellow child abuser, general all-around scuzzbag, Ghislaine Maxwell, a former girlfriend, allegedly, and property manager of Epstein's, is currently being held without bail in a Brooklyn federal jail on charges related to her alleged recruitment and grooming of several underage girls for sexual abuse by him in New York and Palm Beach, as well as at his home in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and her own residence in London. See, it says Santa Fe in here, but what about for the original charges? Nobody goes back and talks about that, right? Why didn't the Inspector General talk about that? That's one of the biggest travesties of this whole case. And the fact that the authorities in New Mexico are sitting on their hands and nobody thinks it's a good idea to go kick in the door or anything is just beyond me. Jordana Feldman, the independent administrator of the Epstein Survivors Compensation Program, on February 4th announced that she was temporarily suspending compensation offers to survivors due to uncertainty about the liquidity of assets of Epstein's estate. Feldman's move came a day after Epstein's estate informed her that it did not have sufficient liquidity to fund the recent replenishment request by the fund. The estate told Feldman that it was working to secure additional liquidity. And right then and there, Khan and Indyke should have been removed. They obviously can't do their job. How hard is it to sell off and piece off some millionaires' belongings and make sure that there's money in this fund for the survivors to get paid out as was agreed? You had one job. One job. Although I sincerely regret having to take this action, I have concluded that it is necessary to protect the interests of eligible claimants who have not yet resolved their claims through the program, Feldman said at the time. Issuing a compensation offer that cannot be timely and fully funded and paid, consistent with the way the program has operated to date, would compromise claimants' interests and the guiding principles of the program, she said. And I agree. It shouldn't be half-assed. It shouldn't be piecemealed. Oh yeah, here's a down payment. Come back and get some more next week. Nope, cut me a check. Just like if it was a settlement with the court, cut me my check. That's it. I want to be done with you idiots. I don't want to have to come back and deal with this some more. Cut me my dough. Feldman added she was committed to ensuring that all eligible claimants get the compensation and validation they deserve. Well, that's a good thing because guess what? They better, right? And this fund better do the right thing and make sure that Indyke and Khan don't have their grubby little fingers in the pot somehow and diverting money to their own bank accounts. I know, sounds cynical, right? And obviously, I certainly don't have proof of that, but it's something I would be very cautious of if I was involved in this case. The fund stopped accepting registration from applicants on February 8th. The deadline for claims to be filed is March 25th. A spokesman for Feldman had no comment on the report of the sale of the Manhattan townhouse. Daniel Weiner, a lawyer for the co-executor of Epstein's estate, did not respond to a request for comment. Weiner told CNN last month that the co-executors had received expressions of interest from numerous parties regarding potentially purchasing Epstein's 2 islands in the Virgin Islands, Little St. James and Great St. James. Again, no mention of Zorro Ranch, almost like it doesn't exist. Almost like if they just ignore it, it'll go away. Almost like if they don't ever talk about it, neither will we. Very odd, if you ask me, folks. Very odd indeed. As far as the replenishment of the fund here, I think it's a good thing, and I hope that these sales are finished very quickly, because this fund should have never been suspended. The show has to get on the road, and these payments need to be paid out to these survivors. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI @protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode can be found in the description box. All right, everybody. We'll pick it back up tomorrow. I hope you all have a great night.